guys, Mark here with another fragrance review, this time on the designer house of Hugo Boss. And this fragrance right here, if you don't recognize this bottle, where have you been in the past 15 years? Under a rock? This is a top seller for Hugo Boss. Millions of bottles worldwide. This is a 90s classic, I guess. This one's simply called Hugo. Now Hugo, I browsed on YouTube just to see who's reviewing this guy. Usually I expect for a top selling fragrance like this, at least a dozen fragrance reviews. Come to expect there was only like just a little handful, like 3 to 5 fragrance reviews. All favorable, by the way. It surprised me because the top seller usually gets a lot of attention. A lot of people have the bottle, of course, and they're going to review it. It surprised me, but it didn't. Reason why, it kind of reminds me of a fragrance that I just recently reviewed, CK1. It reminds me of its heyday back in the 90s, you know, top of the world, selling lots of bottles, doing well, and then the train's kind of slowly chugging along, slowly dying down. This is one of those fragrances. I really think its time has passed. Yes, if you haven't noticed, this is going to be a less than favorable fragrance review on Hugo. Yes. And I do these from time to time, guys. I do my research. You guys know this. This is my bottle. This is my testing, 5 to 10 milliliters of testing. And I test, and try to find good and the bad. You're going to see some good and bad out of this fragrance review. And then I'm going to give my personal take. Just because it's a top seller does not mean that I'm giving it a less than favorable review. I love some top sellers, namely Le Male, Boss Bottled, Amen, just to name a few. And of course I've put some under the rug, like Zaro's Chrome. So let's get to it. Let's delve into Hugo, and I'm going to give you guys a full in-depth review on this fragrance. Let's go. Now let's take a look at presentation, the bottle and the box for Hugo. First and foremost, I wanted to tackle the box. As far as presentation goes, I believe this is the vintage box. The new box actually has this silhouette of the actual bottle on the box. So just to let you guys know, FYI, if your box is different than mine, it's not fake, it's just different. So let's take a look at it. Now you got your information on the side here, you got some here, you got some in the back, you got the website of course, and you got your batch code down here. Just a stereotypical box. Let's take a look at the bottle. Now bottle itself, of course, a little unique, kind of looks like a canister or flask of some sort to hold water or booze. And nicely done. I think it goes with the theme of this green pine-like fragrance. You got, of course, embossed here all your information. You got a sticker at the bottom with your batch code, and that's about it. And this is a twist top, so it's going to be firmly on here. And sprayer, decent, works well, good to go, and this stays on there good, nice and tight. So guys, let's get to the review of Hugo. Now let's take a look at bottle sizes for Hugo. Again, top sellers across the world that have been around for a while. You're going to get several bottle sizes. This is great for the public, especially people that have been wearing this since they were 15 and now they're 45 and still rocking their Hugo. Bottle sizes, you got the 1.3 ounce, the 3.4, which is this guy, 5 ounce, and the mega big bottle, the 6.7 ounce. Pricing, $20 to $70 retail. Americans will purchase this fragrance. Again, shop around, it's been around the block. It's going to be at a discounter for less. Shop around and get a great rate on this fragrance. Now flankers, Hugo Boss is trying to kind of reinvent themselves in a way. They're trying to do flankers to their 2 top selling fragrances, Boss Bottled and Hugo here. This one has got a couple new flankers coming out, of course, Just Different, that's the bottle right here, the black one, and then they just released Hugo Red. So they're trying to reinvent or bring out interest back to their top sellers, Boss Bottled and this guy right here. Now Hugo was released in mid-90s, 1995. Has it been in any of my top 20 lists? No. Group, this is an aromatic green fragrance. Parfumier Bob Aliano. Recommended age. This is for the younger crowd, guys. I really think this is for a good starter fragrance for teenager, college kid. If you just want to have something to smell good, this is for you. But again, this is for everybody. I really think that these type of fragrances, just because it's a popular fragrance, doesn't mean it's just for teens. I think really anybody can pull this off. This is an easy to wear fragrance, casual. So any age group, but I really think the younger kids should be wearing this. If you're my age, maybe shop around. Now, how many sprays in wear? I go 1 on the chest, 2 on the neck, 3 sprays, I'm good to go. Let's take a look at the notes on Hugo. Top notes, we got lavender, green apple, mint, and grapefruit. Very uplifting top. In the mid, we got some carnation, sage, geranium, and jasmine. So a lot of florals here. And in the base, we got pine tree, patchouli, oak moss, and vetiver. So really green, woody notes, earthy notes. So let's get to it. Let's sniff out Hugo. Hugo from Hugo Boss. Let's screw off this cap here. Do initial spray on my hand. I'm going to let you guys know what this fragrance smells like from top to bottom. This initial spray is just reminding me of this top, or this introduction. This top, when you first spray this fragrance, it attacks your nose. Either in a good way or in a bad way, depending who you are. For me, sometimes bad. So let's sniff it out. Very fresh, very green. Really that pine comes out of this fragrance. What do I get from the get-go? Green apple. Lots of green apple in this fragrance. Very green. You get a little bit of mint supporting that green apple. Some grapefruit. Not too much, but just enough. And of course that pine and spices do come up to give this fragrance some backbone right off the bat. So it's not just a fresh fragrance right off the bat. It is going to give you that outdoorsy feel. The bottle really invigorates what you're getting from the scent. Really an outdoorsy, campy-like feel. The sweet yet juicy green apple, I think, is the star in this fragrance. Personally, if you just pinpoint, you take your nose and you just pinpoint that one note, beautifully done. I really like it. I really like the juicy green apple in here. The mesh notes sometimes tackle my nose in the wrong manner, but the green apple's great. It gives you something a little different in the game instead of just a plain citrus top. I really like when people put green apple in their fragrances as a start. The small bit of spearmint in this fragrance kind of gives this fragrance an invigorating blast. Mint does that to fragrances, kind of gives you an uplifting, fresh feeling to a fragrance, so it's great for spring, mostly spring, but also summer. That mint does that. Now the pine's your backbone in Hugo. Really is the fragrance, your main note in this fragrance. You're going to smell from the top right down to the bottom. It's going to give you that outdoorsy-like feel. That pine really does that in fragrances, so very green, woody. The top might be a little too much for some. Like when I first sprayed it, I told you guys it's going to be a little too much for some because of that combo. That pine, green apple, mint, grapefruit, a little bit of spices. Sometimes either doesn't mesh very well, but really tackles your nose. So you got to be careful with this fragrance as far as that. And the notes are kind of synthetic, of course. This is a synthetic-like fragrance, so it's not going to give you a real imagery of a pine tree or something like that. Now in the mid. Now once this fragrance kind of dies down on my skin, once hitting the mid, mostly some of the same story here, kind of linear. The pine comes up a little more, of course. So does the lavender. So the florals are coming up a little bit. It kind of came out as herbal, of course green as the theme of this fragrance, woody and floral. Has a little bit of sweetness to it. The sage peaks throughout and continues that green theme in this mid. The geranium and jasmine hold the floral aspect of the scent, with of course that main note of lavender. The florals are only complementary notes, guys, so it's not a floral scent at all, to be honest. I really felt like they were meshed well in this fragrance, but really your main picture of this fragrance is your pine. It's pine based. Now the greens from the peak, from the base, kind of peek through a little bit here. Mainly the patch and the oak moss combo. I really felt like those two kind of peek through in the mid and are going to be your backbone in the end at the base, with of course that pine. So the base itself, again, the oak moss, vetiver, patch, like dry down, keeps that green theme. With the cedar kind of peeked through a little bit in this fragrance, kind of giving you a woody feel. But the pine is kind of your backbone, and it is going to be in the base your major factor in this fragrance. So guys, let's get to the overview on Hugo. Welcome to the overview on Hugo. Now Hugo is a fresh green, of course with a green apple and a woody backbone type of scent with that pine and cedar. I really felt like Hugo, when I was wearing this fragrance, I really felt like it was a everyday casual type of fragrance. There's nothing too crazy about this fragrance to make it really relevant in 2013, but nothing too bland about it. It still has like that nice green apple note in this fragrance that really will sell some units still to this day. Is this signature scent worthy? Yes, of course. I think this one can be worn in all seasons. It's mainly made for, of course, a spring, summer type fragrance, but I really think it has a nice pine backbone to it that you can wear this during the cooler months. Now this one, personally, I feel like this one is one of those that was a top seller back in the mid-90s and just isn't up to the task now in 2013. It kind of reminded me of CK1. Kind of like the train is slowing down on this one. So much better, has been released since then. Go sniff out other fragrances and you'll see what I mean. It kind of reminds me, to me, the imagery of Hugo, the imagery is basically high school haul, guys. Too many friends were wearing this stuff. I was using Boss Bottled like a boss, but all my friends were using this stuff, and Tommy, of course. In my opinion, a high-selling fragrance that would be best for a starter fragrance, in my opinion. Very simple. It's got like an artificial smell to it, of course, synthetic. It's lost a lot of its lovers in its heyday. I remember in the 90s, this thing was a selling giant back in the 90s. Now, it's still selling a lot. It's still a top seller for Hugo, but not as much as it used to be. And it's not the top selling Hugo Boss fragrance for men anymore. It's actually been taken over by the classic Boss Bottled. Yes. Now, why would you hate this fragrance? Reminds you of high school, kind of like me. The green, woody scents like this, if it's not up your alley, this is not for you, of course not. Synthetic, artificial smelling, too pungent to the nose in the introduction. I've heard a lot of that. That would be, of course, a good reason why you would hate Hugo. Now, bottles, what does this remind me of? I'm really attached to that green apple note, and that green apple note is good in this fragrance, and it really reminds me of the same green apple note in Perry Ellis Men. So if you like this fragrance, go check out Perry Ellis Men. I think that fragrance is like really cheap, 20 bucks. Really a nice green apple note in that one too. Best time to wear Hugo, man, daily wear. You can wear it to work, you can wear it to school, going for walks. I really liked wearing this in the springtime when the grass was growing, a little wet, going golfing, going to play tennis. Yeah, like anything that involves green grass, I really felt like the pine and the green apple really popped when I was outside with this fragrance. Compliment factor on Hugo, is it surprising? It's middle of the road. I got some good and I got some bad with Hugo, and you should get that with every fragrance, but there's a lot of bad, to be honest, but there's also some good. There's some women out there that like this fragrance, but you're not going to get that wow factor with Hugo. I really felt like I wasn't getting any of that from this fragrance as far as the compliment factor goes. My 2 cents, my personal 2 cents on Hugo, honestly, this isn't for me. It never was back in the 90s, especially even on top of its heyday. I really didn't like this fragrance. It never worked for me. I like the green apple top, I'll be honest. I really like that one note. I like the theme of a pine, mint, green apple mix. Really, I felt like, well, maybe. And it was something a little different back in the 90s, definitely against all the citrus aquatics that were coming out now. But at the moment, I don't think this one aged well. I personally feel like it reminds me of the 90s, honestly. I know I might get hanged for trashing a bestseller like this, kind of like Azzaro Chrome, but remember, it's only one man's opinion. Never liked it from the start. Buy, try, or pass. This is a definite pass. I don't wear this fragrance. Honestly, I don't wear it out. I would recommend this as a try, though, for people that are just getting into fragrances. So guys, this is my review on Hugo. Kind of like a middle of the road type of fragrance. Let's get to the rating system. Thanks for watching.
Alright guys, let's rate Hugo by Hugo Boss projection. 6 bottles out of 10, moderate projection. The first hour of this thing actually is beast mode as far as projection goes on my skin. But after that, it's a skin scent. Longevity, 7 bottles out of 10. I get 6 to 8 hours any given wearing. Just be warned, most people online got a lot less than me. Versatility, 8 bottles out of 10. I really think this is a versatile fragrance, a signature scent type of scent. Overall smell, 5. I wasn't really feeling the blend on this one, and it has an artificial type feel to it. Seasons, mostly spring and fall for me. The artificial smell on this is almost to a fault. The blend of notes could bother the user here. It's a top seller, which you should sniff, but if you kind of miss it, you ain't missing much. Overall, 5 bottles out of 10.